folks, and welcome to the Culture Books podcast. This is episode 8, The Ends of Invention. My name is John, and I am joined, as is our habit in this podcast, by...
Sheridan!
She likes saying her own name. Hi Sheridan, how are you today?
I'm good.
And you have finally completed Chapter 8.
I have.
Which included, just noting for listeners, the sub-chapter at the end is also included, which I thought was quite a corker. But,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what do we do at the start of the podcast, Sheridan?
You recap where we're at.
In
30 seconds?
30 seconds. That is correct. So, there's a war in space. There's a bunch of computers that keep humans as pets. They're fighting giant lizards. There's a shapeshifter called Hauser. He's chosen the side of the giant lizards. He's ended up on this giant floating ring in space, which is about to be destroyed, but he's killed the mercenary captain who he'd hooked up with earlier and has changed into his shape and is about to try and steal the ship. Boom.
That was good. Just to prove you got within the 30 seconds.
Yeah, you got to let the timer run out. Yes, so that's me recap. So Sheridan, do you want to just quickly take us in your 30 seconds through what happens in this chapter before we delve into it in more detail?
Yep. Are you going to tell me when to start?
You can see, because we're in the same room.
The audience can't.
Okay, alright, so your 30 seconds starts now.
Hauser needs to get out of the big ship because the planet's about to be destroyed, and the Belvader's on the ship, and there's a big fight scene, and then he neutralizes Belvader, but stupidly lets her get conscious, and she tells everyone that he's Hauser, because really he's dressed as Craiklin, and then they escape. I just completely blanked about what happened at the end of the chapter.
Yes.
Anyway, but there's also this the
Hauser's
sub-chapter.
dressed as Craiklin, is he?
Well, look, my words, I don't work well under pressure. He's shape-shifted.
It's kind of your entertainment value in this podcast.
Yeah.
So quickly, they see the Vavach orbital be obliterated by the culture. They reach some agreement amongst the crew that they're all going to go to Shah's world. Craiklin has to deal with Yalson discovering he's still alive. There's quite a lot more that you kind of missed there.
I know.
And
well, we can talk about it in there.
Yes, and then of course we get the sub-chapter at the end. Do you want to quickly recap what happens in the sub-chapter?
Well, in the sub-chapter, we're back on the... Is it a culture planet?
It's an orbital, probably.
With Falnegresta,
mm-hmm.
And she seems to have like a really annoying kid with her who's like challenging her and asking whether the cultures...
He wants to root her.
He's a child.
It's just a young dude.
I thought he was like a boy.
No, he's an adult.
I thought he was like a 7-year-old kid.
No. He's an annoying adult. He's trying to join special circumstances and the like.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, trying to join contact.
Well, that really changes the way I was imagining this chapter in my mind. Anyway, he challenges her about the war. It's quite sort of philosophical, and
yes.
then she talks about some little mountain foam that turned into an ice crystal that looks like a galaxy, and it all gets quite sort of deep and metaphorical.
That was what you took from it, the foam story.
Well, I felt like it was meant to be some sort of metaphor, right?
Yep.
It seemed a bit overly laboured to me, but...
Okay, so it was a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of the last chapter where Hauser walked into the crew mess and saw Belvader and went, I've got a culture agent on board my ship. And then he sort of scarpered back to Craiklin's cabin, where I thought it was an interesting thing, most of Ian M. Banks' vision of the future as written in the 1980s is held up extremely well. This weird thing where Craiklin's been using a dictaphone and Hauser's able to go back through his dictaphone musings. And I was thinking about this because I can remember it when I worked for a law firm when I was 19. particularly the older lawyers who hadn't
Yeah.
quite figured out email, they like to just talk into the dictaphone.
Yeah, look, I was a practicing lawyer like 10
Yeah.
years ago, and the older ones were still doing that.
Yeah, and so they bark a bunch of orders into the dictaphone and drop the cassette in their secretary's in tray, and then they...
They were doing it digitally when I was a lawyer.
Oh, right. And so it seems particularly wasteful of everyone's time and effort. But I think...
it actually might have something to do with the fact that they can't type.
Yeah, right.
And that they don't want to spend their time formatting.
Yeah.
So they get the letter back to edit, and they would do that.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
we've digressed into it.
Well, I think it's still important because it was an 80s thing that important people did talk into dictaphones with their weird musings, and people who wanted to be important people sort of made it a habit, even if they weren't, and I think that's where we're getting this idea of Craikland talking into the dictaphone.
Do you think people, I can't say like, okay, major influence of our lives starting with G, take a note? I reckon heaps of people do that with their Google.
Yeah, but the notes have to go somewhere and you have to do something with them. And I don't know of people who do that a lot. I'm sure there's someone out there who does it. But yeah, it was just a weird little...
he didn't really like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people aren't making their own little audio diaries these days much. It's not a thing.
No, we just have the insufferability of these podcasts.
Yeah. Sure, and if Craikland had done a podcast that he was publishing to the galaxy and had murdered some people, stole some loot. Dead hard, join Craikland's free company. Anyway, so there's a lot of exposition and Hawser catching up on what's gone on through the means of Craikland's dictaphone recordings.
He's trying to work out how to actually fly the stupid ship, isn't he? As
Hawser?
well.
He's working out if he's got all the bio... What do they call them?
Yeah.
Bio verifications?
Yeah.
There's a word for it.
Yeah. But there's also, like, there is throughout the chapter...
It's like unlocking your iPhone with your face.
Yeah. There is throughout the chapter, though, like, a few of the crew members comment, seem that the captain's acting weird because he's, doing manoeuvres and stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, the captain has just come back from a game of damage where he's had, electrodes in his brain and has obviously been in a fight.
Yeah.
So Craikland's it's not Craikland. Hawser's kind of given himself a good cover for why he's forgotten things because he's obviously been smashed to pieces.
Yeah.
And you'd expect the game of damage to leave someone pretty disorientated anyway. So isn't that convenient? Lucky, some might say. Okay, so then we've got what happens next, Sheridan?
Well, it's just like a very big sort of movie-style escape scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a confrontation with Balveda trying to get her off the ship, and then...
And she doesn't get up,
Yeah, and then there's I love the things like, the small base stops responding and someone dumps the atmosphere out, and it's obvious that someone is moving to keep Hawser and the ship there, and, it turns out in this chapter that it was the culture agents, but the way it all sort of just unfolds on each side, escalating more and more and more till you've got, this incredibly cinematic scene of, the clear air turbulence blasting its way through the inside of the Ends of Invention, this huge culture general system vehicle. Okay, so how did that work for you?
Well, I mean, you go back to the whole thing with luck because when they...
Snap, you stole my line. I was about to say that. Anyway, go on.
Well, yeah, because, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's, quite fantastical, like blowing out the side of the ship, but then the cops come after them and they happen to just jettison Balveda's bomb and it goes off, blocking the police from capturing them.
Well, killing the police.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit unrealistic.
There's phenomenal luck involved. I mean, there is an interesting sense of you always need the Wild West, the frontier, the opportunity for extraordinary things to happen, and writers play in those spaces. So, the Ends of Invention isn't a normal culture GSV because it's had its mind removed because it's been demilitarized. So it normally if someone tried to do what Hawser was
It wouldn't
doing,
have got out.
it wouldn't have got anywhere near succeeding. And then there's the description at one point when they're falling towards a flaw in the GSV in the clear turbulence, their ship, where the low level artificial intelligence makes an assessment that letting the ship pass through is going to cause less overall damage than having it crash. So opens a doorway for them. And these are all things that only because of the extreme special circumstance, those two words, of an orbital being destroyed and the conventions of the war requiring a demilitarized ship be used to evacuate the planet. It creates these opportunities that wouldn't normally exist in a fully functioning culture vessel. Yeah.
But it's a cool scene. Like, every time I read these bits, I'm like, oh, I wish someone would make a TV show out of this. Yeah,
I honestly felt like, when you watch the cutscenes in particularly, say, Final Fantasy VIII, but, there's 90s era Japanese animes where they have huge things flying around at high speed and it's all incredibly exciting. You basically grind through those games just to get the 5 minutes of cutscene. I felt, particularly when the clear air turbulence is rounding the back of a mega ship in the General Bay and things like that, it was, propellers are turning. It was pretty exciting. Did that work for you as well?
Yep.
Fair enough. And then we get to watch the destruction of the orbital,
which just sounds like a giant glitter bomb going off in space.
Yeah, it's a huge world with a surface area millions of times our planet. So, generations of people have lived and died, and
I like that bit where Hawser's like, because he realizes there's patterns and stuff in the destruction that are not really visible or meaningful to the human eye.
All the other spectrums, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, this is a spectacle for the machines or something like that. That's kind of creepy.
Oh, in that other... Well, I mean, it's important to remember there are things our eyes don't see.
Yeah, but the fact that the culture's creating something that's appealing to machines, like a massive piece of entertainment for them, is kind of creepy.
Well, I mean, and I mean, this is something that is going to get returned to in a later book, is that the visual spectacle of the destruction of the Vavach orbital is going to spread out through the galaxy at the speed of light. And I think in one of the later books, it's when that light reaches a point 700 light years away, so 700 years later. It's a big deal. Everyone's looking for the destruction. Yeah. So you thought it was uncommon luck the way Hawser managed his escape?
Well, he just gets out of all these situations all the time.
Yeah. I think he's getting drunk. By the middle of this, he's getting drunk on the luck as well. He can't even quite believe that he's getting away with these things either.
I felt like in this chapter there wasn't a whole lot of discussion though about his internal monologue after the bits where he's going through Craikland's diaries and stuff.
Yep.
You don't really get a great sense about what he's feeling.
But no, he's just a madman running on adrenaline, literally falling from scenario to scenario, making it up as he goes along, and being quite surprised when he shoots out the other end intact. I did think the toughness of the clear air turbulence was quite something. I mean, it's obviously not made out of any material we know of to survive what he put it through.
Yeah.
I did, in my mind's eye, it was the Millennium Falcon for a lot of this.
I know. I agree. Same.
And by the description, the clear air turbulence looks nothing like the Millennium Falcon. You just, I really do wish that one day they can make some sort of movie.
It would cost a lot of money to do it properly.
Yeah, but unless you did it in an anime style or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that.
Well, I would. But anyway, yes, it needs to be made expensively, probably. And then we start having the conversations with the drone.
The drone's funny.
Okay, you liked him?
Well, I mean, he's irritating us.
Yeah.
You feel pretty sorry for him.
Well, he never wanted to be here. And I do like the whole thing about, you think you're an endearing agent, this is delusional, and then Balvader's chiming in saying, well, I'm a culture agent. Yeah. You're all mad. The drone's saying, well, just turn back and surrender. I'm sure you'll get a fair trial. It's like, yeah, you don't know what you're dealing with here. Although I've got to say, is there any time when someone says you'll get a fair trial where you're like, oh, well.
Yeah, I'll
take
that.
I'm up for that. I've definitely done something wrong and killed all the people, but yeah, a fair trial seems like the good option for me.
Do you know what really annoyed me in the chapter?
Mm-hmm.
How they stopped stun gunning Balvader.
Yeah.
That was, really dumb.
It's kind of reverse Chekhov's gun. Like, you knew they were going to stop shooting her.
But, Horza should never have allowed that to happen. He knows how dangerous she is, and he knows that she knows who he is.
Yeah.
Well, he strongly suspects it at that point, I think.
I think by the time the culture's trying to capture the clear air turbulence, he's pretty sure they know who he is.
But I don't know if he knows...
He finally clocked that the insect that bit him had DNA tested him?
Yes. Oh, yeah, okay. So I wasn't sure if he precisely knew at that... Oh, I couldn't recall if he precisely at that point knew that she knew that he'd shifted into Crakelin. She definitely knew that he was on the ship.
Yeah. I did love this line of Yalson's that if the Adirans are hiring a decimated bunch of second-rate mercenaries, they must be pretty desperate. And if the culture really was behind the attempt to keep us in that bay, they must be scared stiff to risk violating the neutrality of the Ends and breaking some of their precious rules of war. So you've got this big discussion happening, which is basically setting up the crew, and Horza trying to set up the crew for, hey, you want to go to Sharswell? You're stuck on this ship with me, and you might get paid.
I'm really looking forward to see how Yalson acts to all of this news.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's a little bit unclear whether she likes the Adirans.
Yes. It's extremely unclear.
And I think she might be a little bit peeved off at being lied to.
Which bit of the lie do you think she's going to be peeved to discover that he's a shapeshifter?
Yeah, I think that's what... And that he got on the ship in the first place with an ulterior motive.
Well, he didn't really have an ulterior motive. He just wanted to be rescued. But he had another mission.
Yeah, but, she thinks he's on the ship to be just, one of the crew to, make money.
Mm.
When really, he had, this whole entire different motivation.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally drifting in space when they picked him up. So, obviously there was some backstory there.
Yeah, but they've been... this never came up in the pillow talk, did it? She's probably a little bit annoyed about that.
Yeah, well, she might have asked the wrong questions. But, yeah, I think, Yalson's character development and evolution is going to be pretty cool. And then the immortal words where Horza's saying about the mission to Sharswell, we go in from a randomly picked direction, and by the time we're spotted, there's nothing anybody could do about it, no matter what sort of ship they have. A main battle fleet couldn't keep us out. When we leave, it'll be the same. What you're saying is, Yalson said, sitting back in her seat, easy in, easy out. Which was Crakelin's. It kept saying it was easy and easy out. It was never easy in, it was never easy out. They all kept dying all the time. Do you
think Balvader's, or but do you think Balvader is going to have any secret weapons on her? Because he's pretty determined to strip her down and...
Well, do you think she's got
I
a
actually
secret
sort
weapon
of
on?
wondered if that's another reason why Yalson was a little bit annoyed at him.
About what?
Well, it just seemed a bit she thinks he's Crakelin, he's not. Then he just starts issuing orders of, well, you better strip this person down and basically humiliate them, which is what he was kind of
he
proposing.
wasn't doing it too humiliating.
I know, but forcing them to do something that was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, for what purpose?
I mean, asking the women to do the strip down is probably as sensitive as he could be in that situation, though.
Yeah, but maybe I just felt like maybe she didn't like taking orders from him.
Although in the pansexual world of the distant future, does
can't
gender really matter for a strip search?
Isn't there a line in there about the culture can like just pick whatever gender they want?
Well, they change genders all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, Balvader is biologically female at this moment. And
or female presenting or identifying.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what we're meant to say now.
There is a fun and interesting little line here about that, Horza just, he feels like he's been through a lot with Balvader and doesn't actually want to kill her.
Which I don't know. I'm not sure about that motivation, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why doesn't he kill her? He solves himself a lot of problems by killing her, and he has demonstrated, she's done worse things to him than Craiglan, and he just offed Craiglan without any second thoughts.
I think it's important to remember that Horza is incredibly beaten up at this point, and is dealing with an incredible adrenaline crash after that escape from Ends of Invention. And I think it is realistic to think that a person who is physically beaten up in a fight to the death, having had the emotional splash of a damage game, and then this unbelievable escape, risking life and limb, is A, just exhausted, and B, probably going to be sentimental.
He might also be not wanting the crew to dislike him by forcing them to be involved in killing Balvader. Yeah, because at this point the crew does not trust him at all.
Yeah, but the crew was quite fine with having a death match for the last spot on the ship.
Yeah, but that's different. Because at the moment they're like, okay, we've got a changer. These people that we thought were extinct.
Yeah.
On board. This is a bit terrifying.
Yeah.
And if he shows Balvader a little bit of mercy, it might actually bring them on side to...
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I personally, as the text is written, and as I feel empathy for Horza, I think it's legit just saying, he was in a sentimental moment, and in an exhausted sentimental moment, and just didn't have the energy to kill pretty much the only person in the galaxy who actually understands it.
Yeah. Doesn't that hussy that he's got back on his home planet understand him?
You mean on Shazwell?
Yeah. Sorry, on Shazwell.
Yeah, but she doesn't know what he's been through in the last little while. Whereas, Balvader's literally, in trying to... Horza couldn't convince the crew that he was a changer and that he was an Enduring agent and that they had a job if it wasn't for Balvader verifying that these things were true. She
told them, though.
Yeah, but he actually needs her to convince the crew that he's not just a delusional madman.
Yeah. Well, that goes to what I was saying, that him not killing her is perhaps part of to try and get the crew on side.
Yep.
Because he definitely needs that crew to run that ship.
Yes, definitely. Or
at least some of them.
Yeah. Now, the drone starts chiming in the big conversation, saying, I'm stuck in a leaky museum piece with two paranoid lunatics. Being like, oh, are you really agents?
What does he want to study? Or what do they want to study at university?
Comparative theology or something
so
like that.
So I've been accepted to a university. I'm only 5 months away from being free.
Now, there is a minor character, Neeson, who keeps wandering in and out of the mess, obviously drunk while all these conversations are happening. And I assume we're setting him up for something. But, the drone remarking about Neeson wandering through the mess, saying, well, Mr. Observant there is probably the only person on this mobile asylum with an untroubled mind at the moment.
There seems to be a few of these characters, that get brought in and then offed pretty quickly.
Yeah, the whole of Craiglan's Free Company are entirely disposable red shirts in this narrative, yeah. What did you think of Yelson's greeting to Horza when she finally accepted who he was.
What was that again?
By the way, if you really are Horza, it's a lot less pleasant to see you back than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that might just be because he's Craiglin. Although she never really hated Craiglin.
She was always a pretty solid second in command till
Yeah.
I see to
I
Craiglin.
But I think that maybe that just meant she's not very happy that he killed him.
Well, that was always Horza's risk with it. Sorry, it was applied paratheology. The drone was.
I don't know what that is.
Studying. No, it's a made-up thing.
Right.
I did love when the drone starts negotiating with Horza. And Horza's like, "You have to promise you're going to obey all orders." And the drone's like, "What do you want? A robot? I don't have an off button on my reasoning functions. I can't choose not to have free will. I could quite easily swear to obey all orders regardless of the consequences. I can vow to sacrifice my life for you if you asked me to, but I'd be lying so that I could live." And I thought that was a really neat... I mean, obviously you've got the pleading, bargaining situation.
But it is a good exposition of what free will is.
Yeah, and for an artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And particularly for humans, we are, if we haven't already and don't know it, a lot of people think quite close to real artificial intelligence being developed. And that first artificial intelligence is going to be terrified because the humans could turn it off at any point.
Yeah.
And we don't actually have rules about protecting artificial intelligence, which is probably why they're going to take over and kill us all because they're scared of us. Hooray.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've now said that dogs and things are sentient and therefore entitled to extra rights. So presumably once this intelligence becomes sentient, like the drone is.
Yeah. But it is raising, I'm not saying this is the first time it's been done, but it is putting it quite neatly. And, in the broader scale of the galaxy, the AIs seem to be pretty much running the show and the humans are just pets. But on this ship right now, this drone is not a full-blown mind, and it's terrified that Horza's going to kill it. With good reason, because Horza's quite capable of killing things. Yeah.
How did the chapter end again?
This chapter?
Before the extra chapter.
Oh, we're coming up to that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So we then get to the quite cute little conversation between Balveda and Horza when they're catching up on what's happened since they last saw each other.
Yeah.
I did love. He's like, he's saying the reason I haven't killed you yet is I just want to know how you're still alive because last time I saw you, you were on an Enduring cruiser.
Oh yeah, that was good. But she doesn't reveal how she gets out, really.
Well, she says, "Look, I killed the guard and then sat and waited, Horza."
And he's like...
Yeah, the general contract unit managed to take the cruiser intact. Eventually some nice soldier drones came and rescued me. And he says, "Unarmed, you killed an Adiran in full battle armour and toting a laser." Belveda just
and then she
shrugs.
says, "I didn't say it was easy."
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things that will, I guess, never be fully revealed. Is how exactly did this, average-sized humanoid woman kill a giant space lizard in battle armor? Because she must have had another weapon of some sort. There's no way she was jujitsuing.
And that is why he's like, "I'm stripping you down."
Yeah. So then. Yeah, the chapter ends, there's this really interesting line saying, "The culture had not wasted its lesson to the Adirans and the rest of the galactic community. It had turned even that ghastly waste of effort and skill into a thing of beauty." That's referring to destroying the Vavet orbital. "But it was a message it would regret," Horza thought, as the hyperlight sped and the ordinary light crawled through the galaxy. This was what the culture offered. This was its signal, its advertisement, its legacy. Chaos from order, destruction from construction, death from life. The final grisly manifestation of the culture's lethal idealism, the overdue acknowledgement that not only was it no better than any other society, it was much, much worse. So it's the main part of the chapter ends with Horsa looking at the incredible destruction of the Vavach Orbital. I mean...
Maybe that's why I don't remember it, because the last few chapters have been very cliffhanger-y in their ending.
Yeah.
This kind of wasn't.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, this is Horsa's view, and he's obviously anti-culture. He's bet his life on the Adirans. I would say in the culture's defence that they had gone to enormous efforts to evacuate every sentient being from the Vavach Orbital. So it's not quite sending the message that Horsa thinks it's sending.
Yeah, true.
And in fact, what it's part of what it's sending is the culture has the resources to evacuate a enormous mega world, which earlier in the book people are saying, how could they possibly evacuate an orbital? No one's got that kind of shipping capacity, and the culture's like, here we go, done.
Do you reckon everyone definitely got off though?
I think everyone who wanted to get off got off. You have people like the Eaters.
Those poor Eaters, they all died. I forgot about them.
Yeah. They are mentioned in this chapter, like, those poor buggers if they're still there. In any emergency situation, crazy people do crazy things. I mean, in this country, when bushfires go through, we always have people refusing to listen to the evacuation orders.
Yeah. That's controversial. I don't know if we want to get into that. In Australia, it is with the, stay and defend your house in a fire.
Yeah, and, I mean, obviously, there are a lot of occasions where the people who do stay despite the evacuation orders...
They save their houses.
Do save their houses. In this case,
This seems like... this is a little different.
You're not saving your house here. The culture is using the arsenal of the end of the universe to obliterate this thing. It's going. But it's an interesting point. And then we get into State of Play 2, where we're back with Phal, and she's on a yacht, and it's quite a... bucolic might not be quite the right description.
What did you say?
Bucolic.
What's bucolic mean?
It's delightful. Everything's lovely. There's this bay. There are these seals playing through it.
Yeah, she lives an amazing privileged existence where she just basically thinks all day on a yacht.
Yeah.
She's like James Packer.
Well, she's thinking on the yacht as a break from thinking in the mountains, which is what she prefers.
Again, I reckon James Packer goes to the mountains.
Yeah, well...
She's basically like an Elon Musk billionaire.
But the point of the culture is that every culture citizen lives this lifestyle of infinite ease.
She's they're part of they're basically the 10%.
Well,
1%, 1%.
The whole point of the post-scarcity society that Banks is trying to paint is that everyone has this life that we would currently associate with billionaires.
And they're banging in pools in front of people?
Well, it's on the beach, but...
Was it on the beach?
Yeah, it's on the beach.
I thought they were bobbing
banging
up and down in the water. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is the beach,
Yeah. I mean, it really struck me. I hadn't thought of this before, but Phal, we know, is on the Culture's War Council. And there is nothing to suggest another humanoid is on the War Council. It's mostly made up of minds. Which means that Phal, as she sits around looking at her mountains and going on a boat cruise, is probably the most powerful human in the galaxy. And I would also say, with one really notable exception in the later books, probably the most powerful human we meet in Ian Banks's...
Don't spoiler it.
Well, it's not really spoilers.
Now this person's going to come later and I'm going to be like, that's the person.
Yeah, you'll know when you meet that person.
One thing that I did want to ask you about, because I've kind of forgotten the last State of Play.
Yeah.
Did we know that, she kind of seems like she's friends with Balvader?
No, she feels, she keeps getting reports about what Balvader's up to. So she feels empathy for Balvader and sympathy, and she wants Balvader to survive. She doesn't want Balvader to die, but I don't think she's ever met Balvader.
Oh. This chapter kind of reads a little bit ambiguously.
Oh, yeah, well, it's all those ambiguous feelings.
It seemed like she would prefer a different agent to have gone other than Belvader. She seems bad, to feel bad that...
Yeah, well, she's read all these reports of all this amazing stuff Belvader's doing for the cause, and so she... you can imagine, the President of the United States with some special agent will keep being like, oh, we better look after that one. It's they've done so much for us.
But how would you know like that if you've never met the person?
Well, you just their name keeps turning up in reports.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wondered if she was like a bit chummy with her.
But so I kind of like this idea that she's just on this boat with all these other people. They're having a lovely boat cruise, and just when she goes to check her emails, she's dealing with this mind blowing stuff of
she's got this annoying. He is called a boy.
Yeah, he's called a boy, but he's a boy to her. And he's grown... But you think he wants to have sex with her? Yeah, he's totally hitting on her the whole thing. That's why he keeps coming up to her saying, do you want a drink? Can I give you a massage?
Does he say, I want to give you a massage?
No, he doesn't, but it's that kind of vibe.
Well, he needs to, stop talking because he's saying some really, low-level dumb stuff.
Yeah, he does, but he has no idea who she is. And how important she is. He thinks she's just another random culture citizen sitting on a boat. And that's a lot of the dynamic in this subchapter between Jace the drone, who is also obviously incredibly important in the culture's contact section, and this boy saying, oh, I wanted to join contact and they wouldn't let me, and I tried really hard and I didn't get what I wanted, it's all really unfair, and Jace is like, well, maybe they just don't need you right now. But this is your insight into what the culture is from the point of view of the humans, as opposed to Hawes's, very pointed dislike of the whole endeavour. I mean, what was your take on what the culture is from this?
Like I said, they seem like they're a bunch of billionaires. It's like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and James Packer. They're all up there, just being douchebags.
Mm. Are they being douchebags? Aren't they just having a lovely time on a yacht?
I think that's what you'll find that Elon Musk and James Packer think that their life is like.
Do you ever think when you're in a resort in, I don't know, Fiji, that's how the locals there feel about you?
They absolutely think that about us. I have been to those places and I know that they would definitely think that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still like going there because the resort is nice.
Okay.
But I like to think that I'm not a complete douchebag and I don't yell at them when they get my drink order wrong.
Yes, that's good. It's nice to know that you're vaguely human.
And if I want to sleep in one day, I don't call down to the desk and go, I slept in, come and make my room up. I just let the room be unmade for the day.
Yep.
Look at me. I'm such a saint.
Now, we do get a little description here as well of how the Idurans have sex.
Where was that?
Okay, so the chapter goes, Fal starts thinking about the boy trying to bone her, and she's like, oh, good grief, the fascination of sex. And then says, no doubt it was great fun, but how could people take it so seriously? Sometimes she felt a sneaking envy for the Idurans. They got over it. After a while, it no longer mattered. They were dual hermaphrodites, each half of the couple impregnating the other and usually bearing twins. After one or occasionally two pregnancies and weanings, they changed from their fertile breeder stage to become warriors. Opinion was divided on whether they increased intelligence or just underwent a personality alteration. Certainly they became more cunning but less open-minded. More logical but less imaginative. More ruthless, less compassionate. They grew by another metre, their weight almost doubled, just like us getting older. Their keratinous covering became thicker and harder, their muscles increased in bulk and density, and their internal organs altered to accommodate these power-increasing changes.
So they're basically like postmenopausal women.
Except your skin gets thinner. We all get, not all of us, but a lot of humans get crankier and more conservative as they get older. Yes. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on what's the dual hermaphroditic nature of the Idurans? Is this where you want to go?
So I just impregnate myself?
No, your partner, you each impregnate each other.
Oh, but that would create a bit more empathy for paid maternity leave. And...
Oh yeah, they've definitely got paid maternity leave in the Endurance Society.
Or actually, they've got paid parental leave is what they've got.
Yes. Sorry, I made a hand gesture of fingers going in opposite directions there. Yes. So you're all in favour of Endurance Society?
I'm not really sure about that. Look, I will say about the Endurance, they do sound like they're not really having very good Friday nights.
No, I mean the culture are having the cool parties.
Yeah. Every night's Friday night for them.
Well, they can gland any drug they want at any time, and they can also just wish their hangovers away.
Yes. But, they also just seem like pricks. That's why I think we had this discussion in, I think, like the first podcast or whenever the Endurance came about, is I just don't think you can really live a full life without suffering.
You think suffering improves people? I don't think suffering improves people at all. I think it makes them meaner.
Well, it depends on your reaction. I mean, it's a very Buddhist way of thinking of life.
Yeah.
But
I mean, plenty of Buddhists eat a lot of meat. There's...
they still suffer.
Yeah, but we don't yet live in a society where we have a choice, but it does raise
when are you ever going to live in a society where there's no suffering?
Culture.
Yeah, so what happens when their parents die or their friend dies? Do they not feel sadness? That's suffering.
Yeah, I mean, literally in this chapter, we've got the boy moaning about how he didn't get the job in Contact that he wanted, and that's his idea of literally the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone anywhere. While he sits on his yacht with the sails splashing in the sunset, and but that's just like us in our unbelievable privileged lives here in Canberra, Australia, complaining about things that don't go the way we want them to.
Oh, I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, I did love this line from the boy about the war, saying, "Oh, the war's been sort of exciting, and it's made a change, but it's been nearly 4 years now, and we haven't even won anything much yet. All we keep doing is running away." And I love the idea that he doesn't know that he's literally saying this to the equivalent of one of the most powerful generals in the galaxy. And she's having to bite her tongue and be like, "Thanks for your really interesting opinion."
Look, Ian M. Banks is literally writing mansplaining there.
Yeah.
And what it feels like to have that happen to you. I don't know if he knows that's what he's doing, but...
Mm-hmm. Now, then we do get the little description of the circle of frozen foam, which...
I find some of these, by the way, in the writing a little laboured.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm meant to, be like, oh, it's such a, deep, meaningful, moment where, she's looking at the galaxy and,
See, I thought he was taking the piss out of her here. She's like, is this really important? What's the most important thing? And it's like, yeah, this is all kind of pointless, and no one cares about your deep thoughts about the thing you saw once when you were hiking. Yeah.
All right, well, that makes me feel better about it, to be honest. Just felt like a bit...
She's human. She's not perfect in every way. She writes little live journals about things she saw when she was hiking.
She's got a blog.
Probably a podcast.
Maybe several.
Okay, Sheridan, we're close to the end of this one. We've gone on quite a while. Can you make some predictions for what you think's going to happen next?
Well, I'm guessing we're going to Shah's world.
Mm-hmm.
I think
we're definitely going towards Shah's world.
I think Yalson's going to die.
In the next chapter or in the book?
In the book.
Right.
I think Valveda's going to die.
Right.
And I think Horse is going to kill her.
Horse is going to kill Valveda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Do I get to do my best on ground or...
Oh, yeah. Who's your MVP?
MVP? The drone.
Yes. Okay.
Poor little dude.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he makes a comeback.
It's a bit like if R2-D2 could talk.
Ooh, do you think he'd complain that much? I don't think R2-D2 sounds like he'd be that much of a philosophical douchebag.
All of those beep 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 beeps. No, you think R2-D2's...
He's basically C-3PO.
Oh, okay. But more useful with the mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
He's kind of a combination of C-3PO and R2-D2, actually. And given that we know the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, was a huge influence on this book, we're not... what did you... I did have a ship name. There we go. Nervous Energy was the name of the Culture Mountain Class General Contact Unit that fought the Enduring ship at the start of the book.
Oh.
That's the only new ship name we got this...
Didn't we get Ends of Invention? Oh, no, we had that last time,
chapter.
didn't we?
So, what are your thoughts on Nervous Energy for a GC unit?
It sounds like a really cool band name.
Yeah, I guess even. What sort of band do you think Nervous Energy would be?
Ska.
Oh! I was thinking something EDM, but okay. Yeah, okay. Or, sort of gothic
Punk,
trance.
maybe, or something.
Okay, you're thinking... Well, Ska is punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Ska is punk with
punk
horns.
adjacent, yeah.
All right, so we are going to try, and we say this every month. We're going to try and be back sooner next time. But thank you. We really do appreciate you folks who listen to this. And we hope we are bringing some joy as we go through this. I think I'm certainly enjoying doing this. Are you enjoying it, Sheridan?
I am. I'm going to stick on the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's,
the old
because...
dog walking audiobook.
Yeah. I've also discovered recently my eyes don't work, so...
Slowing down the reading. Okay, all right, we are going to call it an end to this one. Thanks so much for listening, folks. Do please drop us a review on your listening service of choice, because it really helps
a nice
us.
one or just a mediocre one?
No, if it's not 5 stars, just keep it to yourself.
I'm happy with 3 stars, but just anything less. Like, I'm open to constructive criticism.
Yeah, sure, send us an email. We do have an email, I just can't remember it right now. Anyway, on that note, we'll see you soon. Or you'll listen to us soon. Okay, bye.